We'll just start by looking back at the start of the campaign and now going into this after the international break. Is it almost like a reset? Your season really starts now?
It's exactly that probably. It's been tough going. Obviously results have reflected that, unfortunately. So now that the European adventure's out the way, we focus again on league duty, and we knuckle down and hopefully start picking up points as soon as possible.
What do you think contributed to the poor start to the league season? Was it just European football?
I don't think so. I think we'll have to take that into consideration, and probably lack of experience throughout the squad in terms of that European exposure. But at no stage will we use that as an excuse. It's just not quite went our way in terms of performance levels, and we're constantly looking to improve on that, and that doesn't change now. But you're spot on. This international break has definitely gave us a chance to get ourselves going again, train properly. Obviously that's taken out of the equation when you're travelling and you're 2 games a week. That's you're not getting exposed to as much training as you'd like. So we've managed to get a good bit of training under our belt, and then hopefully now a bit more structure to our working week, and that will help us going forward.
You just said there about the European football, there's a bit of lack of experience in the squad. Not many players had played twice a week, away in European trips. Do you think there are positives that can be taken from that first part of the season? Can it make you stronger as a group? Yeah,
definitely. We always, I think, in terms of our European performances, were good for the main. I think we were competitive, and certain games we were set up differently, obviously, and the exposure to that different type of football from different cultures is good for the players going forward, and we'll have to strive to be in the mix to try and be in amongst that every season, and that doesn't change. We want to be as successful as we possibly can. Unfortunately, we're out the League Cup, so that allows us obviously again more time to focus in league duty and try and get ourselves climbing up the table again.
What's the biggest lesson the squad learned from the European football at the start of the season?
It's obviously different. You're playing different teams and different styles, so your working weeks tailored towards not just the one game but the 2 games and dealing with that. And I don't know what to go into it too deeply, but your travel and your recovery, and it's a wee bit different to what they've been used to as a group. But don't get me wrong, we'd love to experience that season in, season out, and then hopefully we can try and achieve that a bit more consistently for the club.
Has it been the case then that any kind of structure to your training just didn't happen because it was just game?
It's difficult. I mean, we're probably fortunate here in Scotland that we do work more on a weekly basis than Saturday to Saturday, so to speak. I know that changes with TV games and things, but more often than not you are working Saturday to Saturday, unlike down south where Championship and things, it's a constant, and they probably don't train as much as we do. So we are big on our structure and our training week, and that's kind of taken away from you a wee bit in terms of your preparation for European games, and that's not an excuse. That's just exactly the way it is for us the early part of the season. So like I say, we can settle now into our working week and hopefully get a bit more consistency to our work.
You do it all again next season?
Absolutely, definitely would.
How's the squad looking?
All good. Donnelly's struggling probably. Hopefully he'll be fine for Dundee United, which should be the case. Brad's 1 more game suspension. I think other than that we're good to go everywhere else.
What's Donnelly's problem?
Donners is just struggling with a knock he took the game before last it was, so he's a wee bit longer than we hoped. We thought maybe he'd get to this one, but it just fell a bit too early for him.
Do you sense, Paul, after having that taste of Europe, the players are now hungry? It might not have been the start you wanted, but now they've got that taste of it, they know what happens when you finish 4th in this league. Did you say that sense of that hunger that they're ready to make sure this wasn't just a flash in the pan for Kelly?
That's the plan. We certainly hope so. I think that the exposure to it for all of us as a group has been a brilliant experience for us. It's obviously you want to go as far as you can and get to that group stage. We unfortunately fell short on that, but it's definitely whetted the appetite, and the players will sense that as well. We know if you can be in amongst that mix at the top 6 when it comes to the split, that you're going to have an opportunity to be in amongst it. So we have to do all we can to get our season going, and as soon as we can do that, the better for us as well.
How do you assess the Premiership as it sits this season? You look at Aberdeen revitalised, Dundee United promoted, doing well as well. Is it tougher maybe this year, looking ahead, all the 4 games obviously, but the competition, how competitive do you expect this to be?
I think it's always competitive, the SPL, there's no getting away from that. I don't think there's huge margins in many of the games. Obviously the old firm of you're always looking to compete against them in a one-off, but it's difficult for any one team to go and be competitive against them throughout a whole season, so that you take them out of the equation. But everyone else, I think it's highly competitive, and I think that's a constant. I think teams will maybe bob up and down a bit and have a good season and then fall away and come again, and we certainly don't want to fall in that bracket. We want to be up in the mix of the top 6 again, and if we can be that, then hopefully that will have us on the verge of European football again.
Something that's been brought up is the amount of red cards the team have picked up so far this season. Is that something that's been brought up in the building over the break?
It's obviously mentioned, you can't ignore it. Again, we're hoping it's just a coincidental thing, and it gets them all out of the way in one quick flash, and it doesn't happen. It's not something we've had an issue with in the past in terms of discipline. So fingers crossed it's just an early part of the thing, and we can get that out of the way again and move forward with it. It's not ideal, but it's something that has been mentioned, and it would be ignorant not to mention it in terms of how it's happened, but hopefully it's just coincidental that they've all came as close together.
A player that you might face off against this weekend, Kevin Van Veen, obviously here at the back end of last season, maybe didn't work out quite as he wanted it to. Is he somebody you need to be wary of, maybe with a point to prove?
Absolutely, I think you need to be aware of him without a point to prove, in all honesty. He's got brilliant qualities. We recognised the qualities when we signed him. He showed the qualities when he came into the club. He probably made people around about better as well, in terms of, I thought Vass and Marley the tail end of the season were excellent for us, and showed that consistently, which made it a bit more difficult for Kevin to get in. But I'm sure if he starts or comes on at the pitch at any stage, we're fully aware of the quality that he possesses.
You spoke about the red cards there. I saw another stat that was saying Achilles conversion rate, this is in the Premiership so far, the season is down at like 2.5% or something like that, bottom of the league. You could be guilty of simplifying the game too much, but is it as straightforward as if you took a few more chances, things would be a bit different?
The stating obvious. That's a clear thing that, again, but it's something we do look at, and it's something we scrutinise in terms of the percentages and things, and again, it's something we work towards and work and training regularly, and hopefully, again, that we can turn that ratio for us in the coming weeks, and we reap the benefit of that percentage.
What do you expect from St Mirren? Obviously the two teams so close together last season, both had European football so far this season. What do you reckon?
I think you know exactly what they are. They're well organised, physical, they're good at the top end of the pitch, they get the ball forward, they ask questions of you, so we know what's coming from them. There's no getting away from that. Our games have been tight last season, other than the one out here where it was probably just a freaky nature that the second half we had when we were 2-0 down and turned the game down and turned the game around and won it 5-2. I don't think previous to that there's been many games that have been like that. They've all been tight affairs, and I fully expect much and such the same come Saturday.